Happy Thursday, everybody. Like I always say, if you walk on your tiptoes today, you can definitely see Friday. This is Africa Good Morning with myself, Aina Raiza Koyo, and alongside me is Ashwin Mberi. Now, we will be bringing you the news making headlines from now until 8 a.m.
Indeed, we shall, and bringing you the news will be bringing you with a certain youthful energy. Why? Because today is International Youth Day. International Youth Day is an awareness day designated by the United Nations. The purpose of the day is to draw attention to a given set of cultural and legal issues surrounding youth. The first IYD was observed on 12 August in the year 2000. Here's a video on International Youth Day.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and here are the news making headlines. Zambia's opposition upbeat on poll victory. Zambia's opposition party, the United Party for National Development, is confident of winning the upcoming general election. Zambians vote today in what is expected to be a close contest between the ruling Patriotic Front and the opposition, the United Party for National Development. There are 16 candidates running for presidency, but the race is expected to closely be contested by Edgar Lungu, the leader of the Patriotic Front, and Hakainde Hichilema, the United Party for National Development. In the 2016 election, Edgar Lungu narrowly won by 50.35%, while Hakainde Hichilema obtained 47.63%.
Now in South Africa, Zuma too ill for trial. Former South African President Jacob Zuma's fraud and corruption trial has been postponed to 9 September in the Pietermaritzburg High Court because he is too ill to attend in person, the court heard on Tuesday. Zuma's defense lawyer Dalim Mpofu argued that the former president has been suffering for a long time but failed to get medical attention due to the numerous court appearances. The state and the defense agreed that a medical report on the former president be submitted no later than 20 August. Zuma is facing 16 counts of fraud, corruption, money laundering, and racketeering in connection with a multi-billion-dollar arms procuring deal with Tails.
In our next story, WHO experts head to Guinea after Marburg virus case. WHO spokesperson Fadela Chibe said the cases reported late on Monday amounts to the first in West Africa, in a region that was swept up by the devastating Ebola outbreak between 2014 and 2016 that killed at least 11,325 people. The Marburg virus belongs to the same family as Ebola, and previously outbreaks have erupted elsewhere across Africa in Angola, Congo, Kenya, South Africa, and Uganda. Marburg's symptoms include high fever and muscle pain, and some patients later bleed through body openings like eyes and ears.
Now in the Democratic Republic of Congo, we are talking about the arrest of 5 people for child trafficking in Kikwit. 5 people are under arrest at the headquarters of the 11th Military Region in Kikwit for child trafficking, according to Major Joseph Kasongo Bilolo, in charge of the communication of this body. The latter were apprehended in a house in the Muvuma district in the commune of Lukolela, according to this military officer. After investigations, the 11th Military Region picked up 2 other men from this band who were in possession of the military objects. The said arrest was welcomed by inhabitants of this part of the country who feared the resurgence of these acts.
In our next story, over 50 million COVID-19 vaccinations administered across the continent. As of August the 11th, confirmed cases of COVID-19 from 55 African countries reached over 7 million, while over 51,000 vaccinations have been administered across the continent. Reported deaths in Africa reach over 178,000 and over 6 million people have recovered. South Africa has the most reported cases of over 2 million and over 75,000 people have died. Other most affected countries are Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Egypt, Libya, and Kenya. The numbers are compiled by the Center of Systems Science and Engineering at the Johns Hopkins University using statistics from the World Health Organization and other international institutions, as well as national and regional public health departments.
Now in Angola, Ombudsman's office refutes interference. The Ombudsman Flobela Araujo dismissed the idea that visits to some institutions are to interfere in their functioning and clarified that they aim to verify the reality in matters of fundamental rights of citizens. He explained that the Ombudsman can visit prisons, hospitals, daycare centers, homes for the elderly, and all bodies related to the fundamental rights of citizens. Visits to these establishments, he said, never try to interfere with their functioning, but simply check what is happening with regard to human rights. This is because, he added, the fundamental purpose of the Ombudsman is to defend the rights, freedoms, and guarantees of citizens. It can instruct processes based on citizens' complaints.
In our next story, 3 million maloti for MPs. MPs and senators are smiling to the bank after receiving 20,000 maloti in fuel allowances that have been backdated to April. The government, which has been pleading poverty and failing to pay tuition for state-sponsored students, this week spent 2.9 million maloti to pay the legislators' allowances. Each of the 115 MPs and 33 senators is now entitled to a monthly fuel allowance of 5,000 maloti. This after MPs pushed for the benefit despite public outcry and disagreements amongst themselves. The allowances will gobble 8.8 million maloti every year and 44.4 million maloti over the next 5 years.
In Eswatini, government services grounded as complex set alight. A complex housing government offices and their businesses in Hlangano was almost reduced to ashes after it was burnt by unknown arsonists. The attack on the complex reportedly occurred midnight on Monday. Employees in some of the affected offices were shocked when they reported for work in the morning to find their offices in tatters while smoke filled the interior of the complex. It is suspected that a flammable substance was sprinkled after a window at the Ministry of Home Affairs registry area was smashed and the place was set alight. The swift arrival of the firefighters saved the complex as they managed to put out the fire.
Island nations ask the world to ensure their existence. Dozens of small island states vulnerable to the effects of climate change called on the world to save their future after the release on Monday of a UN report on the threats of their existence. Global warming and the resulting rise in sea level endanger several island countries, and according to the report by experts from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, warming is happening much faster than anticipated. We need to reverse the trend, said Diane Blacklane, the lead climate negotiator for the Alliance of Small Island States and ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda to the UN.
Back to DR Congo, death sentence for policeman Kalenda for the murder of his colleague Banda Lungwa. Kalenda has been sentenced to death for attempted murder and murder of policeman Kayala Kito and will be fined $20,000 payable in Congolese francs. In addition, it was decided his immediate arrest and dismissal from the Congolese National Police. Police officer Kayala Kito, who was second in command at the Lubudi District Sub-Police Station in Banda Lungwa Commune, was shot on Wednesday, 28 July 2021.
In our next story, DJ Spuza's Suk Suk remix reaches 1 million YouTube views. DJ Spuza's remix featuring award-winning rapper aka Suk Suk has reached an incredible 1 million views on YouTube. It has been impossible for people not to break to break the replay button on YouTube since the remix was released last year. This time around, he delivered and the numbers don't lie. The song was dubbed a certified hit by a legion of fans. Taking to his Instagram page to celebrate this milestone, DJ Spooza thanked everyone who supported him and showed love to his remix. DJ Spooza made headlines last year for bringing rapper AKA from South Africa over a music video shoot in Windhoek's Wambulokasi location, amongst other locations. The DJ remained tight-lipped about the remix and did not say much about it, even to some media houses in Namibia. AKA finally landed in the country, causing a frenzy, and they were able to shoot the music video.
All right, now in the last of our top stories, Lalibela, Ethiopia's UNESCO heritage site overrun by rebels. Rebels from Ethiopia's war-hit region of Tigray swept into Lalibela on Thursday, raising fears for the safety of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, famed for its 12th century rock-hewn churches. Designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1978, the Lalibela churches are unique. They are carved from rock and sit below ground level, surrounded by deep, dry moats with only their roofs visible. Lalibela is located 680 kilometers north of Addis Ababa and takes its name from King Gebre Meskel Lalibela. According to local law, the monarch built 11 churches with the help of angels after God ordered him to create a new Jerusalem. Lalibela is a popular destination for foreign tourists and followers of the Ethiopian Orthodox faith, the country's largest religion. All right, that brings us to the end of our first batch of stories. After the break, we're going to talk about what it means to never walk alone. No, we are not talking about you Liverpool fans. We are talking about putting shoes on the children in Namibia. Stick around. Project Never Walk Alone is a non-profit initiative created recently to help put shoes on the feet of less fortunate children in Namibia. The project's founder, Tim Ekanjo, has committed an amount of 100,000 Namibian dollars per annum to buy approximately 292 shoes for needy learners. He joins us virtually to shed more light on the project. Good morning, Mr. Ekanjo. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. We're going to get straight into it. What is Project Never Walk Alone, and what does it particularly strive for?
Well, firstly, Project Never Walk Alone is not a Liverpool project like everybody thought. It is registered as a non-profit making organization with BIPA. It basically aims to raise funds to ensure that we are able to buy a brand new pair of shoes for barefooted kids in the country. We've looked at the statistics. It's quite shocking. We have over 20 million children in sub-Saharan Africa still going barefoot. We're looking at about 300 million children in the world. And I know that in Namibia, we have thousands and thousands of children still walking barefoot. And these are basically children who have never owned a pair of shoes before. And that is basically what the project will aim to do, is to raise enough funds so that we can buy a brand new pair of shoes for all these children for the very first time in their lives.
All right. Wow. Congratulations. Nice work, Mr. Ekanja. How will beneficiaries be identified?
So we have basically signed quite a few partnerships. The first one being with the Ministry of Education. They have officially endorsed the project. We have written to all the regional education directors. We've written to all the governors. We've written to all the mayors in the towns, and they will basically collate the information for us, send it to us via the regional education directors, so that we can get sort of an idea of what the numbers are in the different regions. Now, the other challenge is, if a child has never owned a pair of shoes before, we would basically have to go there and use a ruler to measure the size of that kid. Because if you've never owned a pair of shoes before, I cannot ask you what your shoe size is. So we're waiting for the numbers to come in from the different regions. But while we are waiting, we will also go out to the regions and do measurements and start rolling out the project. We've only launched it a few days ago, 2 days ago. But we want to make immediate impact, and therefore we will go out to the most affected areas, especially in rural Namibia, where kids still walk kilometers, 5 to 10 kilometers before they have to get to school. This is not a school shoe project; it is a shoe project. Quite a lot of sponsors have asked, but is this a winter project or is it a summer project? You and I know that you need a pair of shoes, whether it is winter or whether it is summer, and that is basically what we're going to do.
All right. Now, apart from your personal contribution, would you welcome other partners on board who share the same passion for helping less fortunate children?
Yeah, I think firstly we need to understand that this is not my project. I basically founded it. We have a board of directors. We have a young, dynamic leadership team that's leading the project. The fact that I founded the project doesn't mean it is mine. This is a national project, and that's why we've opened it up to anybody who wishes to contribute. We went out, we spoke to over 150 corporates, we spoke to individuals, we spoke to businesses, and we have received pre-launch an amount of 1.1 million so far. And that's why we're able to roll out the project immediately. Individuals have come up and they said, listen, we want to contribute. Some people gave $500 Namibian, some 100, some 100,000. And so this is a national project. We also opened up an SMS line where anybody like yourselves can send an SMS to the number 44844, and each SMS will be charged 50 Namibian dollars. The other ways how you can contribute is by becoming a volunteer, or you can simply decide to ask for our bank details, and you can deposit any amount that suits you. So those are the sort of ways in which anybody can make a contribution, and everybody is welcome to make a contribution, whether you're in the east, north, south. This is a national project, and we want to reach as many children as possible.
All right. How long do you intend to commit to this project? You mentioned that is a national project. Is it only for this year, or is it a continuous thing?
No, we know that the problem is much bigger than a year. We've initially committed for 5 years, and we're going to see how things go. So this project will run for a period of 5 years, and then we will eventually reassess what the situation is on the ground. And after 5 years, we'll then make a decision whether we have sort of reached our target in terms of shoes or not. You also know that a kid that is 3 or 4 or 5 years old, once you give him or her a pair of shoes this year, after 2 years, the child would need another pair of shoes. So this problem is going to be there for quite a long time. And I think as we go along during the 5 years, we will have various discussions and find amicable ways how we can solve the problem permanently. Because a project is supposed to be a project. It has a start and an end date. But we will see how it goes during the 5 years.
Absolutely. Now, this is not your first non-profit initiative. We've actually been obviously following you. I've had the pleasure of working with you on some of your other projects. You seem to be really concerned with making sure that you are proactive with regards to helping people. So tell us, what inspires you to help others before we say goodbye to our viewers?
I think we should all be concerned. It shouldn't just be
Yes.
one or two. Can you imagine what the impact is going to be if everybody is concerned? I think we like to think that we need to make big contributions to make a difference. I always believe that if all of us can just make a small difference in the lives of the person right next to you, that we can make a huge difference. And I think that is what nation building and unity is all about. And that is my passion. And apart from that, I think the other passion is really just pleasing God for what He has blessed us with. And I think if everybody of us can do that, we would be able to make a massive difference in making sure that this country is the beautiful country that everybody thinks it is.
Absolutely. Charity does indeed begin at home. Thank you very much, Mr. Tim Kanjo, for talking to us about Project Never Walk Alone, which is doing its best to ensure that young children, young, less fortunate children in Namibia have shoes on their feet.
Thank you.
All right. This is still Africa Good Morning, bringing you the news as you need it. Right now, we're going to take a short break.
If you're feeling how I'm feeling and you know I won't stop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. I will ride for you, baby, even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Right now we are going to cross over to Zimbabwe to talk to Talent Gore, who has the news on the ground. Good morning, Talent. How are you doing?
Good morning, Aina. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Now I understand Zimbabwe's blood bank runs low. Please tell us more.
Zimbabwe's blood bank is currently running low and it has stocks which last less than 5 days. The National Blood Services Zimbabwe has said that this is contributed largely to the fact that there are no donors who are going to the National Blood Services of Zimbabwe to donate blood, and also the most blood type which was affected was blood group O, which is the most common blood group in Zimbabwe. And in emergencies or times of shortages, the blood group O can be transfused into persons of other blood groups and is found in 50% of all Zimbabweans. So this is the blood group which is currently the most affected, and the National Blood Service of Zimbabwe said that learning institutions, which are the major source of donors who contribute about 75% of the blood in the National Blood Bank, are closed, and there's also been low donor turnout at the National Blood Services offices. They also said that this was largely contributed to the effects of COVID-19, as people are not moving around, and they are also as people are not moving around, so there's been low blood at blood donation turnouts at the National Blood Services Zimbabwe offices.
All right, now in your next story, Talent, you're talking about Zimbabwe's COVID-19 deaths in a record decline. Could you please tell us about this?
Zimbabwe recorded 19 COVID-19 deaths on Monday, and this has been the lowest this month is recorded. Apparently, July was the most affected, as it recorded the highest number of deaths, with 102 on July 27, and this was the highest in July. July was the worst month for Zimbabwe in terms of new infections and deaths as well, as it accounted for more than half of the increasing figures of 116,853 cases and 3,919 deaths reported since March last year. And according to the Ministry of Health and Childcare, the 7-day rolling average is also declined to 853 from 987. Despite this decline in the death cases, Zimbabwe still remains under level 4 lockdown, and the president also he extended the lockdown with another 2 weeks. He said that even though this was good news, this has been good news, Zimbabwe still needed to remain vigilant. So we are still under level 4 lockdown, and it will be under level 4 lockdown for the next 2 weeks.
All right, now the Harare City Council has warned the public against giving street kids food and other items such as money.
So the Harare City Council has advised the residents in Harare to stop giving street kids food and money, as it entices them to still want to stay on the streets rather than go to rehabilitation centers and children's home. So the Harare City Council said that if the residents want to help these children, if they want to give food and money to these children, they should channel those funds to different centers in children's home around Harare, so that the children can at least go to rehabilitation centers in children's home and not try to run away from these facilities to go back to the streets, because they'll be given money and food on the streets. So they say that residents should channel the funds to children's home and rehabilitation centers.
Now, in your last story, Talent, European Union avails €3 million to support highly vulnerable Zimbabweans. Could you tell us about this?
The European Union has availed €3 million to the World Food Programme so that they can give it to the most vulnerable Zimbabweans, especially those who are living in the urban centers. The European Union said that the beneficiaries will receive $12 each per month through either vouchers or Western Union cash transfers, so that they can buy basic food such as maize meal, cooking oil, and salt. The World Food Programme said that COVID-19 induced impacts had further worsened the food situation in Zimbabwe, and that an estimate of about 2.4 million urban dwellers were food insecure. So the European Union said that they cannot help every Zimbabwean, but they will try and give out all they can to at least help those who are mostly affected by the COVID-19 induced poverty.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you here on Africa Good Morning, where we have been bringing you the news and stories from the SADC region and beyond since 7 a.m. Now, if you're wondering what the rest of the day is going to look like, have a look at our weather forecast up next.
Namibia Media Holding is hosting its second annual virtual career expo called Career VX, with the aim of speaking to university students as well as school leavers, those that are looking for bursaries, internships, or want to redirect their careers. The theme for this year's Virtual Career Expo is Unfolding Your Skill Set. The Career Expo will be live streamed on the MyZone and Career Hub Facebook pages on the 12th of August 2021 and will be broadcasted live on the Career VX website, which is www.careervx.com. And the link to the website will be shared on the MyZone and Career Hub Facebook pages and across all the other animated social media platforms. Now, Micheline Nawatises discussed this event with our colleague Ashwin Berry.
So you've just discovered the thing you love doing, that thing that you are passionate about. Maybe you've even gone to school and taken up studies which align with that. The next question you're asking is, how do I enter the professional world? How do I equip myself for the professional world? Well, to answer these questions and more, NMH brought Micheline into studio, and we're going to be talking about the Career Guide 2021 and the Career Expo happening right after the show. Micheline, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashwin, for having me.
It's good to have you here. So first off, Micheline, talk to us about the Career Guide 2021. In fact, maybe before that, tell us what prompted NMH to say, you know what, let's step in. The youngsters need a little more help.
Okay, so Ashwin, I'll just give you a brief background as to why we decided to have the Career Guide. Is because we work with schools all over the nation, or yes. And what we figured is that when they reach grade 11 and grade 12, they lack career guidance. Most of them don't know where they want to tap into, should they take a gap year, and they have so many unanswered questions. So that is why we brought up the Career Guide, to give them a broad spectrum of different career fields that they can tap into and to answer all their unanswered questions. Yes, so what we do with the Career Guide is we feature more than over 180 careers in different fields such as medical, business, science, you name it, and we have it. And then we also feature, or we write motivational articles as to how they can, upskill their set, just because now in what they do in high schools is the teachers give them the foundation, but it's not adequate for them to just sit and have a professional conversation as such.
Yes.
So that's why we saw that's just the little things that we saw, that the Career Guide fits to assist them.
I love to hear that. So essentially, you're standing in the gap and making sure that you are the bridge between someone's dreams and getting into the professional world. Now, keeping that in mind, what is the expo about? What can people expect?
So the Career Expo is just, it's accompanied by the Career Guide. So this is where we physically bring in the profile so that they can, it's different to have something in print and for us to have a conversation this way. So this is where the learners, or even the ones that don't know, or the ones that are already in tertiary, to actually, if they want to redirect their careers. If I have a doctor in here, and if that doctor specializes in one of the things that I, as a year one student, is interested in, can actually give me direction as to what I can tap into. So this is where we bring in different profiles, and then they speak about their daily experiences, what are the disadvantages and advantages that this careers have.
All right, and what's the theme for the expo?
So the theme for this year is unfolding your skill set.
Right.
Just as I mentioned before, just an example is, you would be surprised if you go to high schools and you actually see the amount of learners that do not know how to write a cover letter or just a CV properly. So this is where we tap into with the Career Guide, assisted by the Career Expo, just to give them a broad information basically as to why it is so important to unfold your skill set and not wait for you to finish high school then only to tap into the professional world.
Absolutely. It's so important to be proactive. Before the show, you were just talking about, how a lot of people, when you come out of college, you're already expected to have experience.
Yes.
Where do you get that experience from if you're not already proactive in your career? This is exciting. Where can people get the Career Guide, and, where can they access the expo?
Okay, so you can access our expo firstly at our MyZone Facebook page and Careers Hub. This will be live streamed, but then you can also find it on our YouTube channel of Namibia Media Holdings. The career guide you can find on our website, which is www.zone.my.na.
All right, I'd love to hear it. What's the theme one more time?
The theme is unfolding your skill set.
Unfolding. Do you know what I love about that?
What do you love about
it?
it?
Says that we already have the potential. You already have
Exactly.
skills. The issue is, can we unfold it? Can we equip you? Can we make sure that you're ready for the professional world? Micheline, thank you very much for bringing us this information.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashwin, and please do enjoy the Career VX.
Absolutely.
Let's unfold our skill set.
Yes, starting at exactly 8 a.m. This is still Africa Good Morning, making sure you get all the news from the SADC region and beyond. Talking about career guidance for young individuals, it's time to grab onto those dreams. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's time for us to jump into your economic news stories for the day. And we start off talking about tobacco in Malawi as the tobacco market closes next week. The Tobacco Commission has set August 18 as the closing date for the 2021 selling season. This means that the market will close after 18 weeks of sales this year. Meanwhile, figures from AHL Group show that after 16 weeks of sales, the country has realized 188.6 million from the sale of 116.2 million kilograms of all types of tobacco at an average price of $1.62 per kg. The earnings represent 17.7% increase when compared to 160.2 million realized during the same period last year after selling 104.9 million kilograms at an average price of $1.53 per kg. Tobacco remains Malawi's major export crop, but there have been headways made on the market from some legumes and pulses in recent years.
De Beers optimism grows, but Delta variant poses a risk. De Beers rough diamond sales reached 2.6 billion in the first 6 months of the year, more than the 1.5 times the level in 2020. This was helped by resurgent demand in the United States and China, but the diamond giant is keeping a cautious outlook on the year. De Beers, which equally co-owns Botswana with the government of Botswana, is closely monitoring the resurgence of COVID-19 cases, the key consumer markets of the US and China, India, where Delta variant is driving new infections. We remain cautiously optimistic for the second half of the year. Paul Rowley, De Beers executive president, Diamond Trading, told the media last Thursday.
Now in Lesotho, 4,000 people have been retrenched. Lesotho's biggest textile firm, Nien H. Singh International, has retrenched 4,000 employees due to a lack of orders from the United States markets, where most products are destined. Trade unionists say they are afraid that last Thursday's retrenchment of workers from Nien H. Singh is just the first sign of what is yet to come as COVID-19 ravages the world. May Ratakane, Secretary General of the Independent Democratic Unions of Lesotho, said the retrenchment is not necessarily the result of the recent brush of COVID-19 on the company. Because of the decline in market demands abroad, chances are high that more factories are going to close down, he said. The textile sector employs about 40,000 people, mostly women, in Lesotho.
Nigeria among 10 countries with high debt risk exposure. The World Bank listed Nigeria among the top 10 countries with high debt risk exposure. This was revealed in a financial statement for International Development Association, which was among the World Bank Financial Year 21 audited financial statement released on Monday, the 9th of August 2021. Nigeria was rated 5th on the list with 11.7 billion debt stock. India is on top of the list with 22 billion debt stock, followed by Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Vietnam. Other countries on the list include Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Ghana.
Now we end our economic news stories talking about some aviation as a South African company looks to acquire Air Botswana. 20 years ago, when Joshua Gale-Forolwe was still at the helm of the national airline Air Botswana, the idea of privatization popped up, but to date never materialized. However, the Monitor has learned that a South African company, Airshare Limited, could finally make this a reality. Airshare seeks to acquire 70% of the assets, tangible and intangible, owned by AB that are used or necessary for the conduct of its businesses. AB recorded losses amounting to 146 million pula in 2010, which losses increased to 165 million pula in 2015. The airline then narrowed the losses, recording a loss of 12 million pula in 2017 and another 45 million pula in 2018. According to the minister, the airline, despite its operational challenges, has been able to finance its operations and only request project funding from the government, such as for refleeting. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Up next, economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning on a Thursday morning. It's time for us to get straight into your sports news update. And in our first story, Drogba resigns as Vice President of Cote d'Ivoire Players Association. Former Ivory Coast star striker Didier Drogba on Tuesday said he was stepping down as Vice President of his country's Footballers Association, accusing it of inaction on defending player interests. Instead of defending players' rights and interests, he said the AFI does not respond to their needs and expectations. Former national skipper Drogba had been widely expected to head the West African Countries Football Association, FIF, but last year saw his candidacy snubbed as the AFI alleged he has not been sufficiently involved with the players' representative organization. He still hopes nonetheless to win a November election to that post.
In our next story, Butter Blast racist testosterone rules says African athletes are targeted. Hank Botha, the veteran keeper for Namibia sprint aces Christine Boma and Beatrice Masilingi, refused to mince word when he recently described world athletics' ambiguous rules for athletes with differences of sexual development, saying the rules were designed to target and humiliate African athletes. In a recent interview with South Africa's newsroom, Africa Show, Botha said DSD rules need to be urgently reviewed. I totally disagree with the rules. The argument of fairness by the World Athletics is just unreal. You know, although my skin is white or my skin tone is a bit different than others, I am an African and I was born in Africa. The Namibian teens only participated in the 200-meter event at the recent Tokyo Olympics because they were barred by World Athletics from their preferred distance of 400 meters under the DSD rules, which bans all athletes categorized under the DSD rule from competing in the distance of 400 meters to a mile.
Now in our next story, Australian Olympic athletes face cruel 28 days quarantine. A group of Australian Olympic athletes are facing 28 days in quarantine on return from Tokyo in a move slammed as cruel and uncaring as concerns mount over their mental well-being. All overseas travelers, including the nearly 500-strong Australian team, are required to spend 14 days isolation in a hotel or special outback camp on arrival in the country under strict coronavirus rules. But some will have to endure double that after the South Australian government ruled those who could not get direct flights to Adelaide from Tokyo must serve another 2 weeks of home quarantine when they arrive in the state. The entire Australian team, who won 17 gold medals and 46 medals in total, are fully vaccinated and were tested for COVID-19 almost daily in Japan. This made them extremely low risk, yet their application to South Australia to be exempt from the extra 14 days was rejected.
In our next story, national disgrace. The brave warriors will be the first to carry the burden of a national shame when they play their upcoming 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifying home matches in neighboring South Africa. CAF has decommissioned regular Windhoek venues, Sam Nujoma Stadium and Independence Stadium for being standard. Namibia's failure to heed repeated warnings from CAF and FIFA to upgrade or to construct international standard facilities means the country must fork out millions to play its home matches abroad. It is going to cost the NFA a lot more than when they are at home. The projected bill for hosting the upcoming 3 Brave Warriors matches in South Africa is around 3 million, which is more than a combined 2 million required to upgrade the Windhoek stadiums.
Now in the last of our sports stories, Cyril Gane stops Derek Lewis from capturing title. Cyril Gane became the first French fighter to capture a UFC world title when he won the interim heavyweight title at UFC 265 in Texas on Saturday night. Gane, 31, claimed the vacant interim title by defeating hometown favorite Derek Lewis in the main event in Houston. It was only his 10th fight as a professional mixed martial artist. "I'm happy, I'm proud," said Gane after he won via TKO in the 3rd round. All right, that brings us to the end of your sports news. After the break, we're going to dive into some of the headlines from today's top stories. Africa Good Morning has been broadcasting live from 7 a.m., bringing you news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour or you need a recap, worry not, your headlines are up next. Zambia opposition upbeat on poll victory. South Africa, Zuma too ill for trial. WHO experts head to Guinea after Marburg virus case. Arrest of 5 people for child trafficking in Kikwit. Tobacco market closes next week in Malawi. Drogba resigns as vice president of Côte d'Ivoire Players Association. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Africa Good Morning. Please visit our website, oneup2.com, for more content coming straight from NMH. Now, we do welcome your remarks regarding our show. Our email is agm_2cents@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter, and we can't wait to hear from you. Remember to play your part, get vaccinated, wear your mask, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings.
Absolutely, and don't forget to virtually join our Career Expo. Yes, by our I mean NMH, where they're talking about unlocking, unfolding your potential, your skill set. This is Africa Good Morning. See you tomorrow. Suraj Lakanaka.